Hello and welcome everyone to today's Data Science Career Workshop. These sessions, as we are all aware, and for the new folks who've joined in, these are an integral part of Learn, Earn, and Return, the program we offer at AlmaBetter. So we conduct these sessions every week where we invite folks from the data science community to connect with all the data enthusiasts like you guys, explore what data science looks like on the ground for working data scientists and what problems do we solve on an everyday basis. It's also a very good opportunity for you young learners to ask all your burning questions, to the industry experts that we might have on the panel. So the is to leave every episode with tips and tricks from the data experts and to leave you with some actionable recommendations to help you with the roadmap to enter the world of data, improve your technical and data communication skills to further achieve the goal that you might have set for yourself by getting your work and you recognized and honing the right skills and effective communication. Right. So that being said, I'm your host, Ekta Maheshwari. I am a lead data scientist with data and AI team at Accenture. I work with the Accenture Baltics region, where it's an integral part of Europe, where we help clients embrace new sustainable solutions around today's data-driven business world. So along this, I am also a data science educator at AlmaBetter, where we teach, the course or the content around the data science and coach aspiring data enthusiasts to build a career in the world of data. So I think that being said, let's welcome our guest for today and a very dear friend of mine, Mr. Rajath Jain. Hey Rajat, how's your day going? I think
Oh, I am sorry, I was
you were
cutting
on
in.
mute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, hi Ekta, hi everyone. So yeah, my day has been good till now. I hope
yeah.
like we make everybody's day better after the session.
Absolutely, that's the idea. Thank you. So, to all our learners and attendees, Rajat is a master in data science and he's currently pursuing master in cloud computing. Always an enthusiast for learning. So, he's currently leading the technology function at Anastrat. Anastrat is a first of its kind product that helps in analyzing trade in the world of in the world markets and crypto world. So, overall, yeah. So his hands-on experience in the field of analytics, leading diverse teams, and working on software development and deployment is tremendous. I've been very fortunate to work with him and deliver some state-of-art ML products while our time in Consec. So great to have you here, Rajat. I am
Thanks,
really excited.
Ekta. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, very excited to be having a conversation today about data science and specifically the technical skills essential for this emerging discipline. Yeah. All right. Rajat, before we get into that, for the audience, we would like to know a bit about you. What got you into data science in the first place, and what's the story of how you got in? What were your struggles? How did you solve them? If you could tell us a bit about that.
Right, sure, yeah. So basically, how I got into data science, there's a story behind it. So basically, after my engineering, so I am a computer science engineer. So after my engineering, I got a job with HP. Now in the campus, I was really happy because HP was a big company, and so you really feel good about getting a job like when you are like 22. Like it was really nice, and then I joined the company. I go there for 3 months, and I got trained. And then I saw that there were a lot of people to do small things, and so I have always been very curious. I am a little actually a person with less patience, to be honest. So that didn't really excite me. And then that time, so this is back in 2017, and everywhere there was this slogan like data science being the sexiest job of the century. And I stumbled on this when I was having a conversation with my friend. And then I looked into the curriculum. So it was a combination of math, programming, and business. And I am basically a bunny. I come from a business family. So this was very, it excited me a lot. And then I gave some entrance exams and got selected. So I would say it was one of the best decisions that I have made in my life, because I've been, it's a very amazing field to be in and being challenged every day. So this is my story on how I got into data science in brief.
So, Rajat, you seem to be leading the front. So, what do you majorly work on these days?
Right. So coming to Anastrat, so basically, if you look at the stock market, be it any stock market or the crypto world, there are two kind of participants. So the first section are the investors, who invest with a longer time horizon in their mind. So probably you might be picking up Infosys for next, probably thinking that in the next 2 years it will give you a good return. But then the other set of participants are traders who don't understand the fundamentals of the company. They just look at some mathematics, some statistics, some charts, and they see good entry and exit points, and they make like quick 5 6 trades in a day and probably take 2 to 3%. So that's like 10 to 12% in a day. So what we understood is that India is the biggest derivative market. Like the highest number of traders are there in India, but there is no, and on an average, a successful trader is making less than 4%. So that's less than the FD rate in India. Now that's a huge gap. There's a potential of making 12%, but they are making 4%. And I'm talking
Right.
about successful traders, right? So then we started asking people, okay, what was going wrong? And then we understood that there is no platform where even a person can go and write comment against his trades, like what went wrong, like a trade journaling kind of a platform. So that is how Anastrat was built. Like we analyzed like the traders who come on CNBC at 9 o'clock in the morning. So we analyzed the overall return and it was minus 36%, right? So these are very deep insights which led us to, it kind of motivated us to have a product. And then we spoke to around 50 traders, like a community of 50 traders, and everybody, showed a lot of interest in the product. Like basically, Anastat gives you post-trade analytics. Like we have partnered with some of the largest brokers and some crypto exchanges in the world. So once you have taken a trade, you just upload the trade book, and then we have some patented AI/ML algorithms scanning those trades and telling you what is going in your favor and what is not going in your favor, so that you could learn some new patterns and cut down on your losses. So this is what Anastat aims to be.
Ah, interesting. So, you think that might help us at least from 4 to not 12, but at least come somewhere around a beneficial number?
Yes, 100%. And
Yeah.
the four is I'm talking about successful traders. Imagine a lot of
Yeah.
people are making losses. So, and with, especially in the crypto world, so if you look at the traders, everybody's average is my age, like 27, 28 years old. So I think now people are adept to technology. They are more aware of how to use these tools. So I think, yes, that's our aim, to educate traders and cut down on their losses and make the trading journey more interesting for them.
I think that's a very great initiative. And I think that market gap was, very nicely captured. Right.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
uh, Rajat, I think all of us are very much aware, like, data science is an extremely popular field right now. And, as you mentioned, there are varied, use cases that could actually benefit if we, try to understand the data in the first place and then try to solve the business problem. And the other way is, a lot of varied big background people can, make excellent data science candidates because, you might come from any horizon and you can still excel in that because you know the business and you could learn few skills and just make an amalgamation of yourself. So but when we talk about the technical skill set required, combination of, as you mentioned earlier as well, a combination of mathematical skills and programming expertise is mentioned very relevant. Now, considering data science sits at the intersection of analytics and engineering, is it really that relevant or essential to learn how to code to set my foot in the field, even if I am a fresher or if I'm coming from a experience in the background, but not sure if I want to switch to data science. So overall, just trying to understand, is it really that relevant and essential to learn how to code to set my foot in the field?
Right. So that's a brilliant question, and this is one of the most commonly asked questions that even I come across. This is my understanding from my experience. So first thing is, I believe yes, coding is essential, but it is not that two things. Now let's break it down into two parts. So first thing is, I have heard a lot from people. I come from mechanical background, I come from a commerce background, and it is difficult for me to learn coding. I would say no. In the current era, I think with so many resources available around us, I have seen some fantastic commerce background students becoming good coders, and we have one such person in Anastrat. So since he comes from a commerce background, he has strong domain knowledge, right? He understands accounting, he understands finance much better than I do. I am still learning
Of course.
all
Yeah.
these concepts. So what this guy has done is, so we suggested him a few courses, and he took those courses and he understood the basic programming constructs. For example, how does a loop work? So looping is basically repeating, right? It's in English. If I had to tell, repeating something n number of times is looping. So he
Hmm.
understood these constructs, and he's the patented algorithms that I was talking about. He's been a big contributor to that. So to answer the question, first question, is it required? I think yes. Some exposure to coding is beneficial, but I would say you don't. It's like, to talk to a client, you don't have to be a poet, right? With basic communication, English skills, you can make a good impact. Similarly, in programming, you learn the basic constructs, and the beauty is these constructs remain same across programming languages. And with those basic knowledge, you should be able to do well in data science, is what I have understood.
Yeah, makes sense. So, as you mentioned, with data being the key criteria, and I think all of us has been witnessing a lot of numerous startups which are engrossed in, crunching data to develop robust models like machine learning as a service or something, or development of all of these AutoML tools where it's just drag and drop of various algorithms, right? So they are primarily being created for the express purpose of eliminating the need to even understand the machine learning models, let alone how to code, right?
Right.
So my question to you will be, will my coding skills be easily replaceable? Say I understand the basics, as you mentioned, having a basic construct in my, a portfolio and my understanding would be great. But with all of these emerging tools and tech stacks, do you think it would be so easily replaced that it's just a very short-term thing that I'm learning?
Hmm. So it's a very interesting question again. So I think mathematicians, statisticians, and data scientists, these will be the last set of people to lose their jobs in relevance, right? That is what my belief is. Now, if you look at the entire data science pipeline, right, the only part that AutoML takes care of is building models, right? And see, if I would say if there are 1,000 data scientists in the market, only I would say one out of those 1,000 is actually working on making those algorithms, right? So
Right.
and the rest of them were just even now when AutoML did not exist, there were standard libraries that you would import and you would use them. So, but then there's so much else to it. So, for example, understanding the business context from the client, that's the 101. If you go wrong there, then probably however good programmer you are, or however good AutoML tool or software you have purchased, you will not be able to achieve your success criteria, right? So
Hmm.
understanding the business problem, then domain related data processing. I'll give you a simple example. Right now, I deal with stock markets. So there are some fundamental ratios that we look at, like what is the price of the share by profit. That is one simple EPS, right? Earnings per share. So all these things, no AutoML algorithm in the world will be able to compute, though it's a very simple thing,
Right.
right? So I would say that it only AutoML pipelines only simplify the model building part, and that is actually beneficial to the data scientist, because it is, the model building part is actually redundant and time consuming. So there are people who make
Absolutely.
there are people who are making these tools which are highly optimized, and that's just a tool in your toolkit. I think a data scientist toolkit. So I think if used effectively, it is actually a boon. It'll work for you, not against you. So I don't think that AutoML at least near time anywhere is taking away your jobs. I'll give you one simple example. So there was this in Spain. So basically, the passport verification algorithm. So they had deployed AI in it, right? And so somebody had built a model using AutoML, and then they realized that if your eyes are closed, it does not recognize the person you are, right? So now no AutoML can fix this. You would need a data scientist to take more images where the eyes are closed, semi-closed, fully open, make a varied data set, and then train the model. Now, so if you look at this example, a data scientist cannot be eliminated. Like human intelligence is very much part of data science even today, and I think it's going to be there for a lot of years ahead.
Just to extrapolate on your example itself, so you mentioned that say a lot of these few data points, I would say, where you close your eyes were not detected by the AutoML. Now
Right.
again, it's there's a big debate that's going on, big data versus quality data. So if you just improve the data quality, maybe just add in more examples to the source data set, do you not think the AutoML would then be able to even recognize that those data points and then actually extrapolate them while any of these output comes into picture?
Right, perfectly. So I think you answered the question yourself. So to put those images, wouldn't we need humans in the loop? Wouldn't we need a data scientist?
But
So
data scientists not required, right? It's just sourcing of the new data set, right?
right, but a lot of things. So basically, this is data processing in like computer vision, right? So there are a lot of things. Like for example, I would say it's a skill-based job. Probably not a data scientist, but still, a data scientist understands that mathematically what should be included in the data set to improve the performance of the algorithm, right? So
Right.
I would still feel that a data scientist would be needed there, but yes, he would not do the entire tagging and labeling. But let's say 10% of his bandwidth would be consumed in that part also. So there are a lot of small things like this, for example, putting something into production, constantly monitoring how a model is performing after it has been built.
Correct.
Now there are no machines or AutoML algorithm which does this, right?
Right.
So I have built an AutoML tool actually for one of the largest FMCG companies, and I'll give you a simple example. So yes, we built all those algorithms and everything, and the client came to us and told us that okay, we have the data at a product level, but I want to get my insights at a brand level. Now somebody has to aggregate this, right? The data at a brand
Hmm.
level and then run algorithms over it. So you would still need data scientists for that. That's the point I was
Agreed.
trying to make.
Agreed. Yeah. Human level precision is very much required for your AutoML tools to still work further.
Right,
I
right.
agree. Right. 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 So I think all of us in the audience have one primary question. That would be, if I'm a commerce student or if I am a mechanical engineer or a new graduate with very limited previous working experience, can I still learn coding? Like, let alone everything, let alone all of these required skill set, basic construct, and all of these things. Do you think I can learn coding? Can I still crunch data through programming language? What do you think about it?
Right. So to be honest, sometimes so I am a techie at heart, but sometimes I just wonder that why didn't I take commerce in my undergrad? Because see, I have exposure to 3 to 4 programming languages. I feel programming, it's not difficult to learn, it takes discipline to learn. Right.
Interesting. Yeah.
So a lot of people miss out on programming there, because it's like you're talking English. Similarly, you use words to make phrases which make sense. So in programming, you use constructs or syntax, put it together to make sense, right? But what commerce is giving you is a lot of accounting, as I told you. Sometimes it's about law and financial management. So I think if somebody has that experience, learning coding should not be a challenge. Today there are plethora of resources available out there. So I would say gone are those times when a non-science student or commerce student couldn't become a data engineer or a data scientist. I think it's very much possible today, and I've seen that these guys actually do better. If I put myself to compare, I think I've seen a lot of people doing better than me, and me being from computer science engineering background.
Right. Right. So you mentioned, when we talk about programming or writing codes, it's just basic, construct or basic language that you might use together to make the computer understand, right? So there is some overlapping between the roles of data scientists and that of software engineering, is what I feel
Right,
then. So
right.
how is data science different from software engineering? Because both of them involves, the basic idea is the technical skills, although remains similar. How
Okay.
is it different?
So I would like to answer this question in simple 2 lines and make it more based on intuition, right? So basically, when you're a software engineer, right? So you know what the software is expected to do, and you program it that way,
Hmm.
right?
Correct.
But when you are a data scientist, you have data, you have some mathematical algorithms, you just feed that data to the mathematical algorithms, and the software understands the pattern and what has to be learned from the data. So you see the difference. In software engineering, you know what you're doing. In data science, you're processing the data, you're applying domain knowledge, and then learning, allowing machine learning algorithms to understand the patterns in the data. So that's the biggest difference between software engineering and data science.
Right. It's more data centric. It's more problem centric, is what I
Right,
feel.
right,
Right.
right.
Correct. So, but a follow-up question to that is, there is a common misunderstanding is that, data structures, algorithms, all of these falls under the software engineering toolkit, right? But not data scientists. Is that true?
Right. I would say basic exposure to DSA is good to have, but it is not a must for a data scientist. I'll give you a very simple example. All right. If let's say you ask me to tell me the list of fruits that are there at my home. All right. So I could just use an array or a list. Basically, it's just a collection of fruit names I would give you. But then if you ask me that, Rajat, tell me what are the different items that are available in your kitchen, right? So I might have n number of items. There might be groceries, there might be fruits, there might be vegetables. So what I will do is
Hmm.
I'll give you a dictionary. Basically, under fruits I have an apple, banana, chiku. Under vegetables I have these vegetables. Under like snacks I have these snacks, right? So knowing when to use what data structure is important, but no, there is no expectation from you to understand, okay, what is the space complexity, and you will never be asked about, okay, write a linked list from scratch to add an element, delete an element. I have never faced those. There are some very big companies which ask for it, but if I talk about the industry in general, 95% of the interviews wouldn't have, they will not ask you DSA in depth, but basic exposure, like I said, when to use what, that is a good to have.
Yeah, right. Not a must-have, you would
Right.
say.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So all of these programming languages that you mentioned, each of them have their own syntax, right? Own grammar, own construct. So a different set of words and instructions are analyzed depending on what programming language a person chooses. So what should one consider in the first place before choosing a programming language?
Right. So again, a nice question. With so many tools and technologies available in the market is cluttered, to be honest. So in terms of data science, I would say if you are an absolute newbie, all right, and you want to learn data science in general, then I would say Python is a good language to start with. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because if you go to banking today, they don't use any open source tools because every result that they get needs to be validated. So almost all of them are still on SAS. They're adopting to Python, but I would say 90% of the ecosystem is still in SAS. If you look at
Correct.
healthcare, then R is the primarily the most fundamental of the primary language used there, right? Whereas Python is more of a general purpose language. Like you can do, you can create APIs, you can create models, you can create front end. So, and Python is relatively easier to learn, easier to master. So that way, I would say that Python can be a preferred first choice while learning a language. But again, there is no hard and fast rule. Depending upon the domain you're getting into, or depending upon the company that you're getting into, you can customize and pick whichever language is the most widely used there.
Right. I think there's a forever debate between R versus Python among data scientists and
Right.
data enthusiasts, right? So as a frequent R user by myself, I think I was very reluctant to switch to Python at first. Like, however, I quickly changed my mind after seeing what Python could do. In fact, I would say one of the contributors to me switching to Python is Rajath Jain, because
Okay.
it's such a versatile language, all of the, like, that allows you to collaborate with other engineering colleagues, smoothly. Like,
Right.
you might happen to write the code in R, and the other function might be written in Python. It just gets very, very, messy and cumbersome at times. So I think after a very short transition period, I became quite comfortable in coding in both the languages. So I used them for different purposes. Again, it depends on the purpose. It depends on the, fit with the current project or the current company that you are with, and a lot of times, you use R. So basically, in my personal experience, I use R for, casual inference, like related questions, few ADAs that we could do. But Python is more for engineering heavy tasks, like you
Right.
mentioned, creating APIs and all of those
Right.
things. So I think my suggestion would be, to pick your tool and stay with it. Like, there's no right or wrong answer here again,
Right.
but the
Right.
real question is, what is the most appropriate tool for your research question or
Right.
your problem statement? Yeah,
Yeah, makes
agree.
absolute sense.
Right. So I would say the job of a software engineer or a data scientist or any other technical person writing in programming language is to use, as we mentioned, the right or the use the language or the tools, and so that the computer does its job, what it's supposed to do. So my question is, what aspect of programming should I be good at, for data science specifically?
Hmm.
Like, if you could answer this question from a point of view of a non-programming background, transitioning to data science, what would be, something that you would suggest?
Right. So as I said, one should be familiar with the basic programming constructs. For example, simple ones are if then else. So if this is true, then you do this. Else, if this is true, you do this. Looping, basically, if you want to do something iteratively, because ML is a lot about iteration. So basically, you learn those constructs, how to declare variables. So very simple things which are common across all the languages, how to write reusable code functions. No, nobody expects a data scientist to know compiler design, right? Because that's
Hmm.
not his job. They have, like, if you look at the big consulting firms also, so people with a good business acumen, right? And people who can crunch data, can work in Excel, understand the domain, they are highly valued, and they have a lot of programmers to support them, right? So, but still, if you could just give the direction to the programmer, if you know that much of programming, I think that's enough. So basically, understanding of arrays, dictionaries, lists, and simple, as I told you, if then else, for loop, switch case statements. So I think this must be enough. And even for a beginner, I think this should it should not take more than a month to understand these concepts well, and then probably another 3 4 months to practice them, and then you're going to be a pro.
Right. And if I am somebody who knows, few of these, so just for the audience, the one that the list, arrays, all of these are different types of data types is what we call them. So, see, I already know these data types since I might have learned Java or I might have learned, different language in my college days. So, what is the benefit of knowing those languages? Do you think all of that I've learned in college is a waste and I need to start from scratch? Or can I use those concepts or like oops concepts and all of those in my current learning?
Right. So I think nothing goes for a waste if you look at the paradigm of programming, like across programming languages, right? These constructs are same. It's just that in Python, braces become spaces, right?
Hmm.
The semicolons are suddenly invisible. But the logic is same. Like, what is a variable? It's just a placeholder in memory. Be it Java, C, Python. Now there are I would not say all the languages are exactly same. There are some advanced details which vary. But I think for somebody who's starting his career in data science, knowing these concepts is wouldn't be a necessity. Even without knowing, like, for example, what the difference between multiprocessing, multitasking, the concepts are same, the way you execute in different languages is different. But at a data scientist level, nobody would expect you to know this, or even if you don't know, they will be willing to give you the opportunity that you learn this on the job. So it's not
Very
a
true.
entry barrier.
Right, right. So there's plethora of, so now we've established like anybody can code. It's all about the discipline, and all of these is just something that could be honed with everyday practice. But again, there are plethora of options to learn from, variety of ways and models for someone to pick up these technical skills. So what are the available options that I should keep in my mind for to me to start learning?
Okay, so are we talking about programming here,
Yeah,
or
I'm more or less talking about the programming or the coding skills that we were just discussing.
right? So I would say for data science, there are actually a lot of rich resources. So one thing is YouTube. I think YouTube is the best
God.
university in like today's era. Like day before yesterday, Stanford has come out with a brilliant, like kind of released their AI course at Stanford for free. Right now, okay, let's come to programming. So there are websites like Real Python. So what they do is they take a topic by topic and they explain it in really layman terms, right? So I think you can refer to that YouTube. Then there can be a lot of the MOOCs basically on Coursera, Udemy. You can start learning from there. I think yeah, even without paying, I think at least for Python, YouTube should be very rich.
Right. So other than YouTube, just to add on Rajat's answer, other than YouTube, there are a lot of different, online contributors that are looking out for other contributors who could, solve a
Right,
similar problem statement that you and I might be both interested in. So,
right.
doing things on the fly, not just, looking through the courses and just doing some snippets of them, actually working on the real life problems might give you a better understanding of what could go wrong and what are the other things. And as you mentioned, YouTube is the the real university. I would say Stack Overflow and similar websites are actually the ones that might give you a very different alternative solutions to the same thing which
Right.
might be a better way, and a lot of people might be facing the same issues. So only when you do, you understand that you can you might face this, and in this pitch or in this hiccups, where do you go? So I
Right.
think all of this makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
So
valuable
again,
point. And I think
right.
even like to start off with data science, you can go through Kaggle and some GitHub repositories, like standard repositories. Like reading the code from there also makes a lot of sense and helps you make yourself better in programming.
Absolutely. I think to summarize, free online courses, boot camps, master's program, which is to go. But a lot of people's, like I am somebody who learned a lot of these coding skills or acquired these skills on the job. Like, as Rajat mentioned, that, these are not a barrier for you to enter into any of the, any of the roles in data science that comes under the bigger umbrella, be it data analysts, be it ML engineers, or be it data scientists at a very junior level. So all of these, this is not a barrier. You, if you know the basic constructs, you are good to go. But what you learn actually is on the job, which is again a very exciting way to learn, because you see the results very immediately.
Right.
And a lot of people are taking it up on themselves to develop these skills. So you actually develop the interest there, but you also start doing your hobby projects, and that is how you develop overall a good skill set. Yeah.
Makes
So
sense.
yeah, so Rajat, again, I would like to rotate my answers, because there is a lot of overlapping in the data science and software engineering, and I keep getting a lot of questions like, if I'm so good at data science itself, why not I move to the software engineering side? And I because somewhere down the line, if you really enjoy coding as you do, it's like a addiction, I would say, to some
Hmm.
people. So once you understand what coding or few language or few constructs might help you achieve, you eventually develop a knack for it, and then you might think, rather I will get into the software engineering side. Why not I be somebody who's not very much interested in breaking down the business or breaking down the problem statements, and I would just want to be in the back end and try to code and get things out. There were a lot of people that we know that wants to do that.
Hmm.
So how do I choose a career between data science or software engineering when I have an knack for coding or programming in both the sense?
Right. Perfect. So I think this question is very relevant to me because I came from a computer science engineering background, and I could have just gone and done a software engineering job. Like software engineers right now in the current era, I think there is no better field than software engineering as well as data science. So
Absolutely.
yeah, what I understand is if you are a person who wants to work across different domains, who wants to drive business decisions from bottom to top, right? Who wants, so basically software engineering, there'll be somebody who will come and tell you that, okay, this has to be done. This is my requirements. This is the deliverable. I'm not saying it is not complex. A lot of what you build there is really complex, right? You have to like break your head and then come up with the most optimal solution. But I was a person who wanted to understand, like, okay, if there's a big company in the world, how much profits are they making? What will happen if I reduce the price of a product by 1 rupee? Will the sales go down? What is the elasticity? Right now, such kind of decisions you will, or such kind of analysis, you will not be able to do in software engineering. That is the role of a data analyst or a data scientist. So, if your interest is towards solving business problems, right?
Hmm.
Making like understanding, seeing the impact right then and there, then I think data science is a field for you. But if you want to build, let's say, if your aim is, I want to build an application which is being used by, let's say, 200,000 users simultaneously. For example, Hotstar, that's the current talk of the town with the IPL, and with they supporting 65 million subscribers, like with streaming data. That's a beautiful engineering, what do I say, design that they've come up with. So it depends on what interests you. So if you want to reach out to the masses at scale, then go with software engineering. But if you want to like understand different domains, and then probably 10 years down the lane, connect the dots, and probably you can also start something of your own. Okay, you understand sales, you understand a little bit of marketing, you understand a little bit of technology. If you connect the dots, you might come up with something beautiful. So this is what led me to pick up data science.
Right, right. It's and I would say no day is same in data science. Like I'm pretty sure it can be very daunting to imagine picking up these technical skills as a software engineer, particularly like for someone who doesn't have a technical background. It might be very daunting for them
Right.
initially. Like,
Right.
fortunately, data science doesn't require the same technical expertise as software engineers. If you
Right.
think you have a knack for, as Richard mentioned, like, a business, you have a knack for understanding the different verticals, be it sales, be it marketing, they might benefit more from your business intuition and communication skills rather than just the technical expertise, right? So it all depends on what you have a stronger knack, because there might be a time where you might equally enjoy all of them, but additionally someone can enter into data science without a background in software, without a background in software, like only out of all the people present. So yeah, I think it all depends on the knack, it all depends on your intuition, it all depends on your strengths and your entire SWOT things.
Right.
So yeah, I think I would just like to ask you one last question to you is, what would be the tips for developing these effective coding skills? You've talked a lot about from where should you learn, why should we learn, and what's the importance and what's the significance, how is it differing from software engineering. But overall, if I want to understand from you, what would be your tips for developing these skills?
Right.
And a follow-up question to that: if I already know it, how do I improve it?
Right, makes sense. To answer your first question, I would say first thing, as I've already mentioned, discipline, right? So if you have to improve yourself, especially in programming, I have seen a lot of smart people, they start with programming, they're really smart, but after some point in time, they feel that it's not for them. And that's just because they've not completely explored the power of programming. At the end of the day, it is logical thinking, right? So what I
Hmm.
would say is just stick to one programming language for start, learn basic programming constructs, and try to build small things which will give you happiness. Okay, so one thing I had did was, so my dad basically has a textile garment business, right? So Udan was new in town, and basically Udan is a platform where you can connect to different shopkeepers. So I just opened Udan. I wanted to learn scraping. I thought that, okay, if I could get all the numbers of all the textile traders from Udan, that would be so cool to give it to my dad, right? At the end of the day, it gave me so much happiness, and he actually made some business out of it. I would not say a lot, but he it was actually beneficial to him. So think of these small things, like rather than implementing that something that's already existing. That might be a starting point, I'm not denying that, but think of little things that you can do which can be beneficial to you or can give you happiness, can make you feel more confident, and start implementing those things. And then probably once you have been doing it repetitively for probably 20 days to 30 days, I think you will start enjoying it. That's what I assume, that's what happened to me. And then eventually, when there are errors, you start digging into those errors, understand different parts of how computers work, networking, storage, servers, and your learning curve starts there. So that was the answer to the first part of your question. Now, to the second part of your question, like people who are already familiar with programming, right? What do they do? Now, see, we live in a very agile world today, and the kind of the rate at which the data is increasing is crazy. For example, at Anastrat, we kind of process about 1 crore records every day. So I came from a programming background. I had exposure to 3 to 4 languages, but I didn't know how to handle streaming data, right? Now, streaming data or big data. Now, this was very exciting to me. Like identify or probably join such companies or identify such projects where you will get to learn these new things. Basically, how to process data faster in a most effective manner and provide real-time insights. That's where the world is moving next, right? So, if you could pick up
Correct.
such things, I think it'll be really beneficial to you and your career. That's what is my. These are my 2 cents on your second question.
Right. So to summarize, find your tool and stick with it. Definitely, like just start with one and stick with it. Start with simple questions. Like eventually, maybe enjoy stepping it out of your comfort zone. But initially, start with your simple questions. Understand what might require data insight, and eventually you start challenging yourself with far-fetching goals.
Right.
I think that move to more challenging questions with time, not immediately, because I used to burn myself with most challenging questions, say on W3 schools or hacker ranks, which actually used to bring me down mentally and hurts my confidence. Like there were times where I might think that I don't know anything at all. They are
Hmm.
simply too difficult to be useful. So it has nothing to do with how hard I try, or as they were beyond my capability zone. So always understand what back in time I learned the most from about programming from a very simple for loop. Like go
Hmm.
easy with yourself, start with simple questions, is what you mentioned. And I
Right.
think to improve, you mentioned that use different approaches. Maybe the one that you mentioned, that the world is moving towards the real time. I would say
Right.
to add on that, I think before even we go there, and try to hone as many, new tech stack in our tool belt as much we can. I think use different approaches to the similar problem. By now, you should like once you've understood when we talk about the improving of the skills. So I'm assuming that by now you are in a great shape, and can solve
Hmm.
common programming questions. So to move to the next level, maybe you can try solving the same problem using different approaches, like
Right.
while discussing the trade-offs, say time complexity or infrastructure requirement, or even for that, for let alone the fancy words. What does say algorithm A perform better than the others? Try
Right.
understanding why would you choose SVM over any other algorithm, or
Right.
why is dictionary the recommended data type for the key value pairs.
Hmm.
Understand these things. Maybe these might help you answer a better question, better understanding. And actually, you could use this to then go towards the real time or the new tool stacks that are coming up, right? And I think overall, it's all about the growth mindset and thinking that you can do it, right?
Perfect.
So it's
Yes.
okay to start low. It's okay to, it's okay even if you cannot solve any coding questions in interviews. It has happened to me a lot of times. I could not answer any Python related query, but consistent learning changed my shape. Yeah, I think Rajat very mentioned that there is a learning one. It's so this 2 cents that we from our end. Me, can you still hear me?
Ekta, I lost you for a few seconds. I don't know if it was only me or everyone. Okay, I think it's everyone. Let's give Ekta a minute. Probably she'll disconnect and rejoin.
Yeah. Hi. I have just rejoined. Is this better?
Yeah, this is better, Ekta. Yeah.
Oh, great. All right. All right. So I think, yeah, I think the last thing that I was mentioning is it's a learning curve, and everybody has their own learning curve. And I don't think, you should push yourself so much in the danger zone very quickly. Try
Right.
slow, try
Right.
small.
Right.
Yeah. So Rajat, what we usually do is we keep the remaining 15 minutes for our participants to, ask their questions, and we might want to answer as many as we could. So
Sure.
I would like to ask you a few questions, which our audiences have here. Let me quickly check. All right. So I think we have a lot of questions for you. I think majorly we've solved few. Like I so all right. So Krunal asks, I'm working as an assistant professor, and he has an experience of around 15 years. So he deals with the CSE branch itself. Now he's just willing to switch to IT, that too primarily in the data science field. So can you please put some lights on what opportunities I can get? Um, yeah.
So if I'm not wrong, Kunal is from CSE. That's what you said.
Yeah, he's an assistant professor in CSE.
Right. So perfect, Kunal. So I think if you have fundamentals of CSE, then the world is open to you. And especially in the current market with so much tech crunch, I think you can start off with you can directly start off with being a data scientist. You can start off with being a full stack developer. If I can go beyond data science, I know this discussion is around data science, but full stack development also has immense scope. DevOps being one. So I think you have all the opportunities with you. But if you are primarily looking at data science, I think you can start off with learning some basic statistics and basics of machine learning. So I think these two, along with programming skills, can take you wonder, irrespective of what your past experience has been. But here also, in this case, I think it's an added advantage for you.
Right. Also, I think, Krunal, your follow-up question is with respect to AlmaBetter, what are my opportunities? So we'll have a business BD here, and she might be able to answer you better with respect to what are the opportunities that you could get through AlmaBetter. The next question to you, Rajat, is where could you practice improving your Python skills? Any few suggestions that you might have?
See, there are a lot of platforms which are there and which a lot of people go to, like Hacker Earth, HackerRank. But I personally, and this is a very personal suggestion, I have personally built, as I told you, small things from myself. I've understood a concept, build something that is not there. It might be a very small thing, but just relevant to me and for my use case. And second thing is go to GitHub repositories. What happens is when you're practicing on Hacker Earth and HackerRank, you are just solving one particular problem which a lot of people have already solved in an efficient manner. But what happens when you go to a GitHub repository and you start learning, that is actually used in the industry by thousands of data scientists. So if you start understanding that way of programming, that style of programming, then I think the chances of you cracking the interviews become slightly higher, is what is my belief. I might be wrong, but this is what worked for me. This has worked for me.
Yeah, I think right. So this is few of the questions. I think you've also answered how much expertise do you need to crack the interview? I think more or less that. Saurabh here asks, I'm a commerce student and I have experience in accounting, taxation, etc. I'm still trying to learn data science. Will I get a job if Python, SQL, Excel, probability, and stats are completed as per the standards, as per is it necessary to go for machine learning and deep learning to get entry level jobs?
Right. I don't know, this is an irony, but I was very poor at Excel and PowerPoint when I joined Consig, which happens to be a consulting firm, right? So what I realized is, however great a coder you are, how much ever machine learning, deep learning, I have done various courses, read various books, but if you don't know Excel, SQL, and stats and probability, it will take you nowhere. Because at the end of the day, it does not matter to a client whether you have used the state of the art algorithm or if you have just crunched numbers in Excel. If you can show impactful results which can bring him dollar back in his business, like if he's investing $100 on the project and you can tell him with confidence that I will get you $250 of saving, it is enough. So to start off with, as a fresher, I think having Python, SQL, Excel, probability, and stats, you are in a very good position. And slowly over the time, you can pick up machine learning and parts of deep learning if it interests you. Otherwise, also analytics, which is I would call subset of data science, that also has so many opportunities that you would never want to learn machine learning and deep learning. If you don't learn, it should not be a challenge.
Right. So it's actually the other way. If you know machine learning and deep learning, please definitely also develop your other skills if you want to be an overall full stack, I would say, data scientist, if that is a word. So, all right. So, one of our candidate asks, please give us some tips to follow the road path and motivation. What was your motivation to learn, Rajat?
Now, my motivation, that time I told you, right? I wanted to build something of my own. Like today, there are people who are building micro SaaS. Like one person can understand the domain, can code that, can deploy that code, can market that product and make revenue. So that is what was my motivation. That's why I entered into data science, that, okay, let me explore various domains. Let me hone my programming skills better and let's build a product which can impact, a lot of users. I have taken 5 to 6 years, but today when I look at myself at Anastrat, it's a product which is reaching already 200,000 users. So yeah, this was my motivation, but I don't think that it is the same for everyone. And in terms of road path, I think to start off with, learn your math, statistics, and basics of programming and Excel and PowerPoint. With this, you will get an entry. Then pick up one domain. Be really good at one domain. Like if you, so there are, you can either go horizontal or you can get into depth. Now, I am a person who has gone horizontal. There are a lot of people who have stuck to one domain and they have made wonders there, like built really innovative products there, which has actually helped the mankind. So you can, depending upon your personality, you can pick a domain there and start applying, start taking data, apply some basic analysis and see. I think more important is how you communicate your results. Soft skills are equally important as technical skills, which majority of the people miss out. So yeah, as I said, Excel, PowerPoint, basics of Python and stats should be a good starting point.
Right. So, I think you've answered a lot of questions from Azhar, and all of these are just trying to understand what are the tools that we're going to learn if we go for full stack data science program. That's exactly what we need. I think these are the few skills that we might need. So, Keshav asks, what are the current hot skills in machine learning and data science that are in demand? Like, what industry sought after in the current market? Also, would be better to start with Tableau and Power BI? Would that be a good starting point?
I think I am not that great at visualization, Ekta, so I think you are a very like a much better person to answer this question.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people try to take a visualization as the easier part to get into data science, considering it's more or less drag drop, and you might not require that much knowledge of the tool stack. But more or less, I think although it's a good starting point, but again, it depends. If you are somebody who just wants to visualize things, you just cannot just use drag and drop. You're somebody then, on the other hand, also creates key matrix. You understand what are the KPIs. You understand what where, as Rajat mentioned, getting a dollar back to the business, you have to first understand what does success criteria mean for them. And if you do not, you just you enter, and these tool stacks are just be it Tableau, be it Power BI, or for that matter any other visualization tool might enable you to do that, but all of these might first want you to have a basic knack to understand the business, try to solve their business problem, and then understand what would be the success metric for them. So all of these, I think, is something that are few skills that you need to hone, which are not, just technical, which might also require you to have the soft skills. You need to have the business understanding, all of those things in particular.
Yeah,
So
that was just to add to it, guys. Trust me, like I would write complex Python code in 6 hours and take 6 days to make a PPT. So if you're not good at your soft skills, it's very difficult to be in the industry. Like you have to equally weigh both of them.
yeah, I think I have witnessed that a lot of times. So, all right. So, Saurabh asks, can you please put some light on GitHub repository that you told for practicing Python? I
Right.
would say there's no particular one, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so you can go ahead with first. You can start with simple things like if you want to actually learn the standard. If you are an existing Python coder, then you can start looking into sklearn. You can start looking into pandas and see internally how these are implemented. Because even in ML, how much ever we talk about images and basically audio, etc. I would say 75% of the market is still around tabular data. So understand these libraries should be a good starting point with if you are already experienced. Otherwise, simple things, for example, TQDM. Now, TQDM is a library which just tells you in how much time your for loop will complete. Now, imagine this, okay? Like when I started programming, this TQDM was not there, or probably it was very nascent. And we would just run a for loop and just sit in front of the computer to understand, okay, it might end now, it might end now, it might end now. And that was such a boring experience, right? And then somebody comes up with TQDM. It's a very cool library. It just tells you that, okay, the for loop will take 20 minutes, so you can take a coffee break. It's very simple, effective, so you can start with such stuff.
Right, right. So Akshay Chabra here asks, blockchain market growth is more than data science in future. Is data science dying in 10 years? So I would like to just add one thing, Akshay. We have done few series and their past itself of masterclass where we've talked about the future of data science. But yeah, Rajat, if you can talk a bit about blockchain market growth, is it more than data science?
Okay, that's a simple answer. Anostrat is an amalgamation of a little bit of blockchain along with data science. So you are into crypto, people are building a lot of cryptocurrencies, but if you have to analyze cryptocurrencies, if you have to analyze the trades, you need data science. So I think both of them are very different domain. Blockchain is more of a decentralized ledger. And data science is more about identifying hidden patterns, which as humans we cannot, but machines can, because machines can think in more than 3 dimensions, right? So I don't think this is a valid question. To be honest, both of the markets are going to be there, become more mature, and I think they will work hand in hand. And understanding both of these markets actually could be a great asset.
Right, right. I don't think either one of us is going to take the other's place, but it's going to work hand in hand a lot for sure. So Gulshan asks, Ekta madam, which company hired as data analyst, but every company required experience? Yeah, I think that's an irony to every roles and responsibility. I would say job description, irony of job description. But I think people are more or less not looking for qualifications. They're more looking for what portfolio have you built, what have you done, what are you working upon as a enthusiast in data. So that is more, I would say. Rajat, do you want to add something here?
I think perfectly summarized, Ekta. Just to add to that, I know that's a big pain in the market right now. Now, what I think and what happened with us also, like we picked up 3 interns. They had the skills, but they didn't have the experience. And after 3 months, we actually saw that they were doing some great work. So we actually hired them as full-time employees. So I think if you can get some kind of an internship, or if you can start freelancing today, especially after COVID, there are a lot of freelance jobs available on Upwork, etc. So if you prove yourself there, then I think even that, and if you can do Kegel, which people may enjoy or may not enjoy, but if you want to, if you do some real time work, I think that's a great advantage. So look out for, scout for internships and freelance jobs. And I think that's a way you can prove to the companies that, okay, I have all the relevant experience and I've worked with actual data. So it would be very beneficial for you to hire me.
Right, right. So a lot of people are asking questions about AlmaBetter course and the data science, full stack data science. Guys, we have Pratibha in as our expert here, and she might be able to answer all your AlmaBetter related questions. We are primarily talking about the topic here. So Rizwan asks, I'm a chemical engineer and I have a maths knowledge, but I don't have programming knowledge, how to work on it, and will my background create problems in the job?
Again, I wish I knew more mathematics. It's not that I'm poor at it, but yeah, if you have a mathematics background, then you can be one of the best programmers out there. So there's actually a person on YouTube, I just can't recall his exact name. So he was a mathematician by profession, and then probably in the next 35 days, he just started coding and he landed a job at Google. So yeah, I don't think that's a barrier. If you are good at math and if you can learn the basics of programming, which is easy with the resources available around us, I think you'll do wonders in the data science field.
Right. So I think from our YouTube audiences, few people have asked, you've used a lot of times DSA. So what does DSA mean? It's data structure and algorithms. Yeah, if you could talk a bit about it.
Uh, So basically, yeah, data structures and algorithms. So there are certain standard, algorithms that you guys must have heard of. Like if you had to sort an array, if you have to arrange the elements of an array or 10 numbers. Now there are a lot of methods of doing it. There is like something called, these might be technical jargons. If you don't know, don't get worried. These are simple techniques that you can look into. For example, bubble sort, then selection sort. So there are heap sort, right? So all of these are algorithms which actually, let's say, if I have to implement a sorting technique in Python, and Python as a language is used by millions of people across the globe, then I have to consider these algorithms, look at, okay, how much time does a large array take? How much time does a mid-size array take? How much time does a small array take? And then incorporate this as Python's default sort. Now, these are algorithms. Now, there are certain data structures also. For example, lists, arrays, dictionaries, these are simple ones, but let's say stacks. Stacks is nothing but, imagine there's a pipe, you put an element, so whatever goes in last comes out first, right? So all these are actually not required to become a data scientist, because if one common use case of implementing a stack is when you want to do the undo, like you do control Z, right? Now a data scientist will never implement, okay, how will control Z happen on Apple or a Dell laptop, correct? Yeah, but to give you a knowledge, these are certain basically defined algorithms that are used in the industry. But what I have seen is even the big companies are now moving away from DSA rounds to machine coding rounds, where basically they're giving you a small part of the software and they're asking you to solve that using basic while loop, for loop, etc. So yeah, the DSS, as Ekta explained, stood for data structure and algorithms, and this is where they're primarily used for. Yeah.
Right. I think, Lokesh, we are unable to locate your question. So if you could reiterate your question in the chat, that would be great. Meanwhile, we'll answer Keshav's question. What are some data science keywords to crack through the ATS system? Being currently getting an interview call is harder today than to clear it. I think no one better than to talk about ATS system here. So also, please do tell our audience what is ATS system, and getting an interview call is harder today than to clear it. How do we do that?
Right. I think Ekta, again, you would be a better person, but yeah, to people who don't know, ATS is application tracking system. So I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience in that because I've always worked in startups. But what I have understood, Ekta, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, first thing is the trick is if you get a JD, copy paste the JD, like use the keywords from the JD in your resume, and the ATS system will surely catch it. Second thing is, I think the way you're writing, the keywords that you're using must be pretty standard. And I think the font sizing and the spacing also matters. If I'm not really sure, I think if you can shed some light here.
Right. So I think overall, the font size and all is very secondary. I would say it's more about, as Rajat mentioned, trying to understand what the role you're applying to, and those the corresponding keywords are present in your resume or not. But then again, that comes up with the question that, for every role, do I make a new resume? No, you do not. You try to understand, that's what exactly we do with our career coaching students as well. That we try to understand what are the roles that excites you, what roles do you resonate with a lot, and then you try to understand what are the basic expectations or the the roles and responsibilities from the candidates, and then you try to understand and try those keywords and put in those keywords that only and only if you should put in, and not just just to add some fancy words you put in, and you just crack up, maybe then you might clear the the application round. But again, once you are in the interview, in the initial 5 minutes, the interviewers are very smart and they might understand it's something that you've just put in just for the sake of jargons but not really know about it. I think that would be absolutely distrust, and you would be out any minute. So my point is, try to put in those keywords that resonate with the roles that you are trying to apply, and then only those keywords, shortlist them that might or you might want to upskill and then appear for the interview. I think
Right.
that.
But Ekta, I just want to add to this. I don't know if I'm wrong, but don't be overwhelmed with the JD, right? A lot of times, especially data scientists, JDs, they expect you not to be a single person, but an entire team. They expect you to know machine learning, deep learning, DevOps, like everything, like 5, 6 programming languages, but that's not actually the case. What Ekta told is right. Whatever you put on your resume, you should be very sure about it, because if there is an interviewer who is 4 to 5 years experience, has been in this domain, he can easily catch you if you're bluffing, right? But still, don't get like scared of all the terms and technologies. Even if you feel that okay, 60% to 65% of the skills that are mentioned there, and you know them, don't fabricate anything, but try applying to those positions, because I have seen a lot of instances where people who didn't know everything still got selected, but a few people didn't even bother to apply. So that is one thing that I have noticed. I just wanted to put here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that very nicely phrased, because again, things like, as you mentioned, Rajat, the DevOps, the ML ops, all of these are more towards the deployment of the models. And I think these might be not something that a fresher might want to, immediately aspire to, apply for the role. But basically, you hone that over time. And so getting overwhelmed is something, is one way to take it. The other way is, those gaps, and try to understand, oh, can I develop one of those skills? Need not necessarily develop all of the 100, but as you mentioned, even if you resonate with the job description 60%, 50% at least, maybe you should apply. Yeah. All right. I think pretty much, I think just take one last question from Lokesh. He's a civil engineer, 2018 pass out, and a 2-year experience in civil site engineer. And I was joining data science AlmaBetter, which is a data science and a full stack developer for job purpose. And English communication is not good, so will be possible for me as a data science. Right. You want to answer this?
I think even you can,
Okay.
but yeah, I would say that see, if you are in a consulting role, then probably your communication skills become important. But if you're a data analyst and data scientist, especially in the startups, nothing matters. You can just, if you're just able to explain in, probably it might be any language, maybe English, not English, if you're just able to explain what you have done, if you have that talent and knack for learning, I think that way we live in a very good world today. You will have ample opportunities. That is something that you should not be worried about. Go for it, is what I would say.
Absolutely. I think more or less pretty much very nicely summarized. I hope this workshop helped you guys think about this daunting topic of coding and programming in a different way. I would definitely encourage you guys to do your own research about this topic, understand the different repositories that we mentioned to practice, and do what is you feel is right for you in your career. Like not just get overwhelmed, but by all of these interaction or the discussions that we might have done, but just try to understand what is in your green zone and try to as much as that, try to move them to your study zones and understand your learning curve. I and Rajat here obviously love this field, and I think we are very excited to see it continuously grow. And that's how I think we would like to inspire us, all of our candidates here. Thank you so much for joining in, Rajat. I think I actually learned quite a bit, and I'm happy we could discuss this in length. And you always give me a different perspective to think in a lot of different directions. So yeah, thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you, Ekta. Even I take a lot of learnings from you and everyone here. Thank you, everyone, for this opportunity. It was a good session. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think just going away words would be start something new. I think anything starting new is challenging enough. I think we do not want to try something new and big simultaneously. Always learning happens in a small dosage. So start with something that would take little effort to learn something. If we are in the danger zone, things do not work out for us. Like when I say danger zone, I mean all of those overwhelming words like DevOps, MLOps, and all of those things. Things might not work out good for you, and you might get demotivated on the way. But regardless of how hard we try, try to take smaller dosages. So yeah, see you guys next week. Happy learning and happy weekend. All your AlmaBetter related questions would be answered by Pratibha. Feel free to drop in as many questions as you want, and yeah, have a great remaining day. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.